Hello, and welcome to another episode of Leadership is Female. I'm your host, Emily Jansen, and today I want to talk to you about a topic that was really going kind of crazy online, advice for your younger self. And I've been asked this question a bunch of times in interviews, and I always say I would tell her nothing because I would not want my life to be different at all from what it is today. I'm so grateful for what I have, the family I have, the kids I have, and changing like what I knew back then reminds me of that movie, The Butterfly Effect, where like all of a sudden my children would disappear and I just can't, I can't live with that. So we're going to ignore the butterfly effect idea and instead think about advice for your younger self that might not just apply to you, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, but might actually like be a great reminder for you today. I try to really acknowledge how far I've come, like a lot, like often. And I was like recently hanging out with a friend of mine who, her and her husband have worked really hard and come into a lot of success, like kind of that unfathomable success level. And she is just one of the most humble people that I know, and also incredibly generous with her time, talent, treasure. And we were talking and she told me, oh, it's a pinch me moment. And I'm like, what do you mean a pinch me moment? Like you're having pinch me moments? Like I thought of her as this, just so far along in life and so successful, but she's still having pinch me moments, like looking up and being like, oh, I just took this amazing vacation, or wow, like it never ceases to amaze me when I get into this car in the morning because it's a really nice car and I have always wanted to have a nice car and I get to have a nice car. And just having somebody around who had this attitude of gratitude was really cool. And she just said, what is this all for if like we get there and then we forget how hard we worked to be in that place? And that also made me start thinking about the advice for younger self and like how that's applicable today, and maybe how you could look through the lens of, I wish I would have known then, and maybe see if you're really applying that today to what you're doing. So my first piece of advice for my younger self, and maybe you guys saw this, I posted 1 and 2 on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. First of all, that was really hard for me to post a reel of myself as a talking head. Like I had to have one of my friends hound me. I made her hold me accountable for like posting that video. And it might sound silly to you. You might totally get where I'm coming from, but like me showing up on Instagram as this talking head to all of you in a reel was hard for me. I'm still working through exactly why, because it came from a place of service. I do public speaking and stand up in front of a bunch of people and talk all the time, but it was like something totally different for me to flip my iPhone around and record myself talking than post it on the internet. It was just like, I definitely used one of my confidence strategies of 3, 2, 1, go, and made it live and thought about like, what's the worst that can happen? And there wasn't much, I was making it out to be a bigger deal than it was. So anyway, I had posted this video on advice to your younger self. And the first thing I said was, in college, I would have worked in athletics. I went to University of Illinois, which is a Big Ten school. I lived in this area called the Six Pack my freshman year, which was a dorm area of 6 different dorms. It was right across the street from the football stadium, the basketball stadium, and the huge campus rec center. I had D1 athletes living on my floor. I was playing club soccer and also trying out for the varsity team, the D1 soccer team at Illinois. Like I was so involved in it, but it was like I was too close to recognize the opportunity right in front of my face. Like I want to smack my forehead like, it was right there. You wanted a career in sports, yet you didn't start working in sports when you were in college and could literally walk across the street to your job. Like, what were you thinking? But I think how this translates today is sometimes we're too close to the problem. Like, what the solution could be is right in front of your face, but you don't see it because you're in it. You're in it too deep. And I think the way this translates today is, first of all, for all those people who are asking us on LinkedIn, like, what should I do to work in sports? If you're still in college, work at your university. I guarantee there is a spot for somebody hardworking and ambitious. So if you are listening and you're still in college, or even if you've just graduated and you're working somewhere adjacent to sports, like, just start getting involved. Take the easy road, take the easy opportunity. If you are where I just described, where you're kind of too close to find the solution, there's a few ideas I've got here. One is ask for help. And this is like multifaceted. You're either asking for help for people internally, but who are in a different department. They're going to see the business through a different lens than you. So have a willingness to get vulnerable here and admit that you don't know the answer to the problem, which is difficult for a lot of us who see performing with excellence every day as having all the answers, when really we need to get a little bit more curious. If it's not internal, go to your board of directors. Even if you haven't named your circle a board of directors, you probably have one. Like, who are the people that you go to and can talk openly about your job, or you guys connect on some level regarding your investment in your business? Is it, you have a friend who's a doctor, you have a friend who's an insurance agent, you have a friend who is crushing her business as a hairstylist. Like, you have these friends who do these different things, and they're all going to approach problems differently. Like, what if you described your problem to them? Could they give you an idea for a solution? And the third thing is hire a consultant or a coach. Oftentimes, as I said, we're too close to the problem to see what's in front of our face. Bringing in an expert is nothing to be ashamed of. It's sometimes the smartest thing you can ever do. And that investment in that person's time and talent is so small compared to the results that they could potentially drive if they're unlocking that blockage in your organization. So that's advice for my younger self. Step one, translating to advice for myself today. Step two was, I wish that I was a bartender. When I lived in Chicago, I was working for the Chicago Bulls. I was an intern in ticket sales. I was really a 9-to-5er for all intents and purposes. We worked a game every now and again. An intern was assigned to work. Yes, I do wish I volunteered more. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There was more I probably could have done inside the organization. They did tell us, stay in your lane. But as I know now, like, anyone who shows ambition and a propensity for hard work, like, you're going to get what you ask for. So you can step it up a little bit. But I do wish that I was bartending at night or on the weekends. I think that I could have grown my interpersonal skills so much faster if I was behind the bar. You're dealing with micro orders or issues just over and over and over again on repeat for your entire shift, and you're earning a bunch of money. So rather than standing on the other side, buying the drinks, I could have been pouring the drinks, learning, growing, and earning more money. And what that would have been for me would have been a side hustle, even if I probably would have out-earned my income, my initial sports income. It would have been considered a side hustle because it wasn't my main focus. And I think the way that translates today is that your side hustle is something that pulls your brain away from your day-to-day tasks. So, like, You might be working in a role at work that requires so much focus and attention. And then when you're home, maybe you have a family that you're tending to. But what else in between besides that? And I don't mean this as like work is mundane or home is mundane, but you're in these rhythms and routines at work and at home that can make it a tad bit mundane because you're doing similar things over and over and over again. So what can you put in there to shake it up? Like, a side hustle doesn't have to be earning extra money, although I have seen very surprising women with Etsy shops who are knitting or painting or creating or photography. Like, hell yeah, I think that is incredible. But for those who are not interested in another business, like, can your side hustle be training for a 5K or training for a marathon like I did last year? I would absolutely have considered that my side hustle. I had to spend a significant amount of time each week being very dedicated to that goal. It pulled me out of the new work I was trying to create. It carved out a space separate from what I do with my family, and it helped me to grow exponentially as a person within that white space. So for those of us who are in the middle of our career, we're in it. We are so in it. Is there a side hustle that can kind of pull you away, help you to get creative, that you can make space for? So that's a little bit of a challenge to you. The third piece of advice for my younger self is volunteer earlier, better use of my time. So there is a couple of different facets to this. Volunteer earlier for organizations that I care about in a meaningful way. I absolutely wish I would have done that sooner, because later in my career, when I was asked to be on a board, I said yes without asking enough questions or understanding, what that board might have required from me. It ended up being a big mistake, and I had to withdraw. It was not cool. It sucked, to be honest with you. I am not a quitter, and having to say yes to a board of directors, but then be completely blindsided by what was being asked of me because I wasn't available for any of those things, was not good. So I needed to find a way to volunteer my time that worked better for me, my schedule, the unique ways in which I could contribute, and also my family. So better use of my time. I am finally today on a board. Again, I'm on a nonprofit board. I'm on the board for the Northern Nevada Children's Cancer Foundation. I feel I have a unique skill set that really benefits that board specifically. I really care a lot about cancer. So I have huge personal buy-in. My mom passed away from pancreatic cancer, and I have children, and seeing these kids and these families go through a cancer diagnosis, and then see how Northern Nevada Children's Cancer Foundation helps these kids is phenomenal. I can't think of a better way to help and serve my community. The other interesting piece is they do not only help families here locally with all the expenses that are incurred with a cancer diagnosis, but they also fund research, and research for children's cancers is translatable to all cancers, which I find it's like if you're going to kill a weed, like, you got to go to the root. And I feel like that's what I can do by helping out with children's cancer. Not only am I helping kids and their families, but if we attack research on those children's cancers, like, maybe we can make a bigger impact for adults that are facing a diagnosis. So better use of my time in the nonprofit space is huge. And it took me a long time to understand, like, how that contribution of mine could happen. If you're not at the point where you're ready to go onto a board for a not-for-profit, I would recommend volunteering, sign yourself up for a couple of newsletters for organizations that you might be interested in contributing to, see what they have coming up, and show up and help out. Being a volunteer and on that side of things, sometimes it's nice to not be in the boss shoes anymore and just kind of do the work. And it gives you a chance to see what they do and if it might be a good fit for you to get involved at a deeper level down the line. I also volunteer to coach youth soccer, which has been so much fun. I realize now that you don't have to have a kid playing soccer in order to be a youth soccer coach. I happen to be a mom of a boy on each of the teams that I coach. But I think that would have been something really fun for me to do. And when I was younger, even before I had kids, like get involved at the youth sports level, a practice a week for an hour and a game on the weekend for an hour, just during a season, which is, only a few months. Like maybe that's another way you can contribute. The other and last way to volunteer would be inside your own organization. So after your job duties are done, are there committees that you can serve on within your company? Are there areas that need more leadership? Are there areas that need more help? If you're really bought into this company, bought into your career, bought into building your resume, like what can you do beyond your job duties to strengthen your personal resume outside of getting your own things done and doing it with excellence? I think that's a unique lens to look through. I've had a couple of interviews recently on the Leadership is Female podcast where women have talked about the boards and committees that they've served on that are either a part of or adjacent to where they work. And it's only strengthened their leadership skills. So take a look. Is it WISE? Is it a committee? Is it an organization? Is it a chamber of commerce? Is it a women's group? Like, get curious about some of these organizations that are around. They're there, and how can you become a leader in that space by carving out just a little bit of time from your schedule. So volunteer earlier is the third piece of advice for my younger self. And finally, advice number 4, speak up sooner. Speak up sooner. And this has like a million legs. It expands far and wide for what speak up sooner could mean for you in your career. One of them has to do with pay. Speak up sooner for what you should be earning. Are you earning an appropriate amount of money for the work that you are doing? This is paying into your 401k. Actually paying into your 401k. If you're putting in a percentage of what you earn each year, and you're earning more money younger, like you're going to be able to have the freedom to retire sooner. You're going to see your bank account grow quicker. It has exponential growth. And I think we need to have more conversations with more women about how much money we are actually making and have the wool pulled out from over our eyes so that you can see what's possible for you. There are states right now, California is one of them, where job postings require a salary range. Maybe you live in Kansas and not California, and the cost of living is slightly different for what you can earn, but you can at least get an idea of what comparable positions would pay. So check it out. Even if you're not looking to move there, make sure that your comp is in line with the work that you're doing and you're earning what you should be. And that requires also you to speak up sooner. If you discover that there is a salary or a compensation imbalance, get a little bit more curious and start to have those conversations with your employer about what's possible. And if it turns out that you're not going to be able to earn as much as you think you require, that's when you can start shopping around for what's next. I did not look up the statistic before I started recording this episode, but there is a statistic on how your salary jumps from moving. I think that, our generation now knows a lot more about changing jobs than we do about staying with one for 20 years. And part of that is because when you move, you earn more money. So your company can have the choice to keep you if they're willing to up-level your salary, or you can go after a job at a larger pay scale. And we can't be afraid of that. So have the conversations, do your research, and be more transparent when you're talking about how much money you can earn. The other piece of speaking up sooner is asking for reviews. We can't get better. We can't become an irreplaceable employee if you don't know if you're doing the job right or wrong. Bosses get busy, reviews get skipped, or maybe they weren't even planned in the first place, but make sure that you're getting quarterly reviews, or at best biannual reviews, but make sure those are happening. Where can you get better? And then it also gives you a place to demonstrate all that you've contributed and ask for that bump in comp when the time is appropriate. And then the last piece of speaking up sooner is getting in the right rooms with the right people. And in order to do that, you have to use your voice. Sometimes your boss isn't the right room or the right people. It may be your boss's boss. It may be other influential people in the community. Like, how do you put yourself in the right rooms and a part of the right groups? And in order to be in those spaces, you've got to use your voice and add value. Serve, 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 and then you can ask. So take a little mental audit of who you're in those rooms with. How often does that change? Are those people challenging you? Are you learning from them? If you're not, or if you're feeling an imbalance, or if you're feeling like the big fish in the small pond, it's time to consider changing your surroundings. You don't have to move across country or quit your job, but you can look for other networks, other committees inside your current, place of living that can help you to grow who you are as an individual, speak up sooner, serve, and add value. So I hope that those 4 pieces of advice for my younger self are not only available for you if you go back in the time machine, or if you're still listening as someone who's in college, or that they translated today through this explanation. It was getting to work earlier, finding a side hustle, volunteering, and speaking up were the 4 areas that I would encourage you to evaluate in your life so that you can level up sooner. So Leadership is Female podcast is here for you, to serve you. If you found this episode helpful, please do me a favor, like it, share it, rate it, review it, do all the things. We all hear about the algorithm all the time. And the more you support the show and share it with your friends, the more people we can reach, and the more women we can lead forward in her career. If you got a question or an idea or want to talk, reach out to me on Instagram at Emily Jansen, on LinkedIn at Emily Jansen, or on Instagram at Leadership is Female. We cannot wait to hear from you. It is such an honor and a privilege to serve you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Leadership is Female. Let's go.